Every time that I think I'm done with Disney Star Wars, they do something so unbelievably stupid that I feel compelled to talk about it. In reality, the announcement that I'm going to talk about today feels like the final nail in the coffin for this once proud franchise. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So the Star Wars Celebration event that's been taking place over Easter weekend has produced a lot of announcements. Big reveals about upcoming Star Wars projects from the false savior himself, Dave Filoni, as well as another project from director James Mangold. Yes, the same James Mangold who takes breaks most likely from ruining Indiana Jones to argue with people on Twitter. If he's not the perfect fit for Lucasfilm, then I don't know who is.
Son of a bitch.
But arguably the biggest and most questionable announcement to come out of this event comes in the form of a new Jedi Order film set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. But that's not the best part. The best part is that this film will bring back Daisy Ridley's Rey Palpatine, who will be attempting to rebuild the Jedi Academy. Imagine that for a second. A Palpatine is rebuilding the Jedi Council. Good. Now I know what you're thinking. Lucasfilm couldn't possibly be so dumb that they are going to now double down on sequel trilogy characters. We are talking about the era that basically killed off a lot of diehard fans' interest in this franchise. If we look at this situation in the most lazy way possible, like Lucasfilm typically looks at these situations, this actually makes a lot of sense. Original trilogy nostalgia is all dried up at this point, with the way that they desecrated beloved characters such as Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Boba Fett.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Prequel trilogy nostalgia took a massive hit after the Obi-Wan series debacle, so in reality, where else do they have to go? The only thing they can really do is try to appeal to the very small amount of fans that they still have left. The ones who will basically like anything with Star Wars in the title. The ones who made excuses for the piss-poor planning and storytelling in the sequel trilogy. Something that actual employees of Lucasfilm have admitted to, by the way.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
So their master plan is to bring back Rey, a character that I will admit had potential once upon a time. But throughout the course of this trilogy, her existence was squandered more and more with each entry, both by an inconsistent plot and non-existent character development. And the fact that they're going back to her is proof once again that Lucasfilm is making movies for the wrong people.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Or more specifically, making them for a very specific subgroup of the fandom. You know who I'm talking about, the Twitter fandom, the Reylos. The type of fan that go out of their way to praise a character like Rey when that character really hasn't done anything on screen to deserve it. And to be clear, I don't place any of this on actress Daisy Ridley. This has everything to do with the incompetence of Lucasfilm. And they've basically put themselves in a no-win situation at this point.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Interest in the brand is at an all-time low. People are actually turning on the one thing that some viewed as the one decent thing they still produced. That being The Mandalorian, of course. Unironically, the most recent season of The Mandalorian is the one that's most connected to the sequel trilogy era. So I'm sure it's just a coincidence that a lot of people are losing interest.
Nobody likes a smartass, alright?
Lucasfilm backed themselves into a corner creatively, and now they are being forced to embrace their own terrible creations. In reality though, I think this was the plan from the start. I believe from the very beginning that the plan was to create new characters to replace the old beloved characters, perhaps as a way to make the new Star Wars more profitable for them. Kylo was supposed to be the new Vader. Mando was supposed to be the new Boba Fett. Rey was supposed to be the new Luke Skywalker. The only thing that Lucasfilm didn't account for was Star Wars fans having standards.
Let's gut the freaking nerd.
We aren't going to be so easily manipulated into accepting your poorly constructed replacements. We aren't just going to accept that your characters are somehow superior to the characters that George Lucas created, no matter how hard you're trying to tell us that they are. A good example of this is the whole concept around this new Rey movie, where they are essentially giving her Luke Skywalker's story from the expanded universe. Not only are they taking someone else's story and passing it off as their own, something they do a lot as well, but they are further diminishing the legacy of Luke Skywalker. Even after his death, the character still isn't safe. And much how they took Anakin's redemption story, about how he defeats the Emperor and brings balance to the Force, and they give that to Rey in Rise of Skywalker. Through all of this, Lucasfilm is basically confirming that they don't have a creative bone in their body.
Put some effort into it!
Basically, they're saying we're just going to take something that works and inject our characters into it. But once again, Star Wars fans, most of them are smarter than that. Or like myself, they are so disconnected that no matter what you do, it will cease to move the needle in any way due to lack of interest. So I say go for it. Bring back Rey. Hell, even try to undo some of the mistakes you made with her character in the sequel trilogy. While you're at it, bring back other sequel trilogy characters like Finn and try to fix them as well. Give us that Jedi story for Finn that's too little too late at this point.
I don't care!
None of it's going to matter because you've already shown us what you think of fans, and you've already shown us how nonchalant you were about crafting these characters and these stories in the first place. Even if by some miracle you made this new film into a masterpiece, all it will really do is validate what most of us have been saying for years now. That being that you have no idea what you are doing. Your incompetence will be on full display once again due to your inconsistency.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
The only difference will be that this time, there won't be enough fans left that actually give a shit. Because you've exhausted all of your goodwill, and all of the people who hate you have now moved on to something else and don't even care anymore. And the only reason some people still have a morbid curiosity in what you are doing is they want to see how far you are going to dig yourself into the hole that you currently find yourself in. And right on schedule, you are doing exactly that by going back to something that didn't work in the first place.
That makes sense.
Clueless is an understatement. Tone deaf is just scratching the surface. Lucasfilm at this point is something much worse. They are a company that is making content for an audience that really does not exist. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. If that's the case, then Lucasfilm and its management at this point should be considered certifiable and are in desperate need of treatment for some greed-induced, lazy mental condition that they are constantly putting on full display every time they release a new project. And the only cure for that condition is to ignore them and hope they go away, which is exactly where we find ourselves right now.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.